Welcome to New England Lacrosse Journal's Chasing the Goal podcast, your destination for all things lacrosse. I am your host, Kyle Devitt. Alongside me, chomping at the bit, quite literally, Jack Piatelli. What's up, man?
Fired up. I'm fired up today. Let me tell you, social media's got to go away. It's got to go away.
Coming out hot.
Oh, it's like 5,000 hits. A high school player scored behind the back goal, and everyone's talking about it. And I'm watching the stats, or I actually looked at the stats. Can't watch the stats, right? I was looking at the stats. This kid had 10 shots. One went in behind the back. The other 9 missed the goal, and he had 7 turnovers in the game. But everybody wants to talk about the goal behind the back, and they lost. But as long as he got the goal behind the back, everything's okay. You can go home, mom and dad are happy. Everyone's happy. Nonsense.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, man. We had a kid the other day in practice. He was like, "Coach, when do we do behind the backs?" I'm like, I laughed in his face and went, never. We never do that.
Well, because you can't show them how to do it either. But don't worry about that.
If you want to go BTB on a wall, we will go BTB on a wall, my guy.
Anytime. Left, right, one hand, whatever you want to do.
I was going to get you a nice stick.
One hand, 2 hands, however you want to do it.
Okay.
I'll show you.
Go under the legs.
I can't wait. We're going to get it on video too.
Well, now that we're on YouTube, people can actually watch it. So you're going to have to stop. I know I can do it.
I know I can do it too. I've been doing it a lot longer than you have.
All right. Well,
I can't wait.
We should get into the show. We have double Campbells here. Okay. We have Longmeadow head coach Keith Campbell on the Zoom. And I don't know where you coach other than Piatelli.
I'm Piatelli all the time.
Oh, he's an all the time Piatelli guy. Kevin Campbell right here in studio.
Kevin actually played at North Carolina a long time ago, so the game has changed quite a bit since Kevin played, but he still keeps in touch with his teammates from back in the 70s, goes back on a regular basis, and we talk about that at Piatelli Lacrosse all the time is, friends for life. And, I'm been very fortunate at Piatelli Lacrosse. I have great people, surrounded by great people and great people who are great coaches as well, because they understand how to work with these players and have a great appreciation for how the game was good to them, and they want to give back to the game. And Kevin is one of those guys.
Yeah, fantastic experience for me at Longmeadow, playing for this guy Bill McCullough, who's in the Western Mass Hall of Fame, and then playing for Willie Scroggs at North Carolina. Men that shaped my life and instilled great pride in the game, and it's been fantastic for me.
Well, let me ask you both this question, because not to be like, hey, you're older, answer this question, but you've seen the game actually change significantly throughout your time as coaches at the high school level and prepping people for the college level and club. What do you think is the most significant advancement, and what's the thing that you wish was still the same? Keith, I'll let you go first.
Okay. I would say the equipment and the sticks and the way that you can control the ball has changed dramatically in the time that I've seen it. And I think it allows offensive advantage. The sticks that we played with in the 70s and 80s were very different. It was, there was a lot more cradling to keep the ball in the stick, and you can do a lot more controlling the ball with the current equipment. And I would say that I think that's an advantage, because I think it makes the game more offensively fun and exciting. To Jack's point earlier, the other change is that obviously this is in all aspects of life with social media, highlighting trick things. I believe sticking to the fundamentals is somewhat being lost in the sport, and those that go on and have the most success, from what I've seen being involved in Piatelli Lacrosse for over a decade, those that have the fundamentals and stick to them are the ones that have the most success.
What do you think you would like to remain the same from back then?
The actual fundamentals of the game, being the foundation of the sport. I think that's what I'd like to see. I hate to be an old school guy, but when somebody's open on the wing or on the crease, there's no reason to drop your stick and throw the ball sidearm or underhand. And I think the equipment forced us to practice more fundamentally and play the game more fundamentally.
Kevin, what do you think?
The obvious main differences is the substitution game today, and back in the 70s and 80s, it was 3 lines of midfield. Everybody was a two-way player, and today there's so much specialization that's changed the game drastically. But then with sixes,
yep,
you're starting to see the importance of two-way players, and you were suggesting, what was good about the game, and I think that coming back is very good for the game.
Yeah,
I agree. I really enjoyed watching the sixes and seeing, the players playing offense, defense. The attackmen had to learn how to play defense. Middies had to create more, like an attack. It was a fast-paced game, no face-off. I like that they eliminated the face-off. So I love the two-way midi. And, if we could ever get that back, that would be great. But you see more kids are becoming, even at the Division I college level, you see more guys are becoming more two-way players because they're getting stuck on defense. They have to know how to play defense. And some will get stuck on offense too and be able to create and do what's best for their offensive set at that particular time.
I've got a bit of a hot take. I don't like sixes. I don't think it teaches the right things because yes, in the opposite of what you're saying, I don't think it teaches ball movement. I think it teaches dodge, 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 dodge. And I don't like that. It's also basically eliminates scoring from X because it's not worth it. Because if you bring it from X and you miss, there's no backing the shot up. You can't get it back. So you have to have it basically kills X attackmen, which are my favorite players. I love X attackmen. I wasn't good enough to be an X attackman. I was just short kid on the wing that ripped shots, but that kind of player. So I agree with you. The two-way develops very well in it. I guess, but it kills the rest. It kills.
Yeah, I guess if you look, you got to take a look at it. How you looking at it? Are you looking at it as a fan? Are you looking at it as a development? Or are you looking at it as a player? As a development, I think it's great. You could have different variations of it. You could have a player at X.
Yeah, if
you wanted to, a different variation. But I like the concept of short sticks. Kids should know how to play lacrosse with a short stick in their hand, not a long pole.
I feel like youth lacrosse is sixes already, isn't it?
No, it's
we're I mean, come on, man. We're like, I've watched youth lacrosse.
But the field's too big.
It's like, yeah,
the field's too big.
Exactly.
So why is a third grader playing on the same size field as a 10th grader?
Why does it look like a soccer game?
Right. I mean,
the ball's on the ground, like, let me.
So short in the field.
Can't check, so
why is the third grader have a long pole in his hand?
100%. They shouldn't. No. See, it's funny because like we're saying the same thing but different perspectives, right? Like, I think there's a certain age cutoff where sixes becomes less effective. That's my real argument. I think I'm interested in what you guys have to say. Keith,
I like it. Because I love, for the exact reason, I do it all the time with my players. Putting short sticks in the defenseman's hands, I think, has them focus more on their defense, the basketball type of approaches. I think it develops them in that way. And I think from the perspective of you just have less guys, so you get more touches, I think it's a great development for. And Kyle, I don't disagree. At a certain age, maybe it's not applicable, and maybe you move into a box model then. Right. I think the combination of those two things from my time playing, I saw those types of situations develop guys the best. And I almost look at sixes as for youth, the opportunity if you can't play box. And I think that that helps you in every aspect of the game, specifically, defensively and offensively from a shooting perspective. I think it just, I like those aspects of the game because I think it's more, again, back to fundamental development.
Yeah.
And your skills got a lot better when you were able to use those new sticks. You could actually catch and throw when the new sticks came out, Coach.
Yeah, exactly.
When you got those passes from me, you actually were able to catch them and put them in the goal. Anyways, but Keith actually is one of our recruiting coordinators for Piatelli Lacrosse. Is very involved in working with parents, players, and again, finding the right school for that particular player, whether it's Division 1, 2, or 3. It's really all about, what he's looking for in the academic perspective and athletic. And that's not an easy thing to do, or actually for some of the players to accept the fact that they might have to, play Division 2 or Division 3 when they think they're, a Division 1. But once we find a very good fit for our athletes, and most of our athletes are Division 2 and 3 players, and we're fine with that. We love the fact that we have a lot of Division 2 and 3 players because we're able to find them great places to, attend school, whether it's New Hampshire, St. A's. We have a number of players at the Northeast 10 schools, Bentley, so on and so forth. But I'll let Keith talk a little bit more about, our philosophy on recruiting and how we approach it and the success we've had.
Yeah, I just think, when we started this, obviously Jack, myself, and many of his coaches have relationships because, I've heard you guys talk about the separation, the degrees of separation in lacrosse. We know a lot of folks that coach at the Division 1, 2, and 3 level, but really when Jack asked me to be the recruiting coordinator for Piatelli Lacrosse, I was really excited. I enjoyed doing it in my tenure when I started at Longmeadow. But, my brother and I have spent our careers in sales, and, the recruiting of college athletes is very similar to recruiting good talent in your business. And I just reached out to everybody, introduced myself. And from the beginning, the one thing, no matter what the parents think, the one thing that, I always say is all we have at Piatelli is our reputation. We are not convincing coaches to take guys that we don't think can have success there. That's a recipe for disaster. And I think that maybe some of that has to do with our professional careers, because we've seen people get developed to a level of Peter principle and then they fail. That is not our intention. And I think we really want the right thing for our players. And what I always say to the parent and the player is we have to allow the player to make the selection. If we're making that choice as the recruiting coordinator or the parent, when they face that adversity of being a freshman, they have the out of, oh, you convinced me to do this, mom, or you convinced me to do this, dad, or
right.
Coach Campbell, you told me that this was where I should go. And no different than any aspect of life, if you have skin in the game and you make the selection, you're going to have success. And I would say that, over the last, 7 or 8 years of us really trying to ramp up Piatelli Lacrosse from a coordinating perspective of recruiting, we really don't have a lot of guys that go to a home and want to leave. And we know the dynamics of, the coaches we're dealing with and maybe how they coach differently or what they're looking for. And we try to find the best place. As Jack said, though, I always start out with academically and athletically, and then using that process in your life of going through the adversity in athletics, to help you in your career after that. And I think we've taken more of the long view with our players, and it's not about really publicizing how many guys we have. It's more about, at the end of the day, seeing those kids and loving that we've set the foundation for their future.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, you know, again, I come at it from, I'm just an assistant coach. I'm not doing the things that you guys are doing. I'm just developing players to their play JV to play varsity. And I have kids that are just like, Coach, where do you think I should go? And I'm like, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, I don't know. How do you handle that question? Because I'm sure that happens to you guys too. What's your answer for that when a kid's like, oh, I don't know what I want to do?
Well, today it's real easy. They can go on the internet, right? And Sports Recruits is a service that we use that players can go on and take a look at, what they might want to study, and they can take a look at maybe where they might want to go to school. But everything's right on the Sports Recruits and right on the internet. And like, we didn't have anything when we were growing up. Now they have. I tell them, take a look at this school, take a look at that. What do you want to study? But go on the internet. You're part of Sports Recruits. Contact some coaches, get your video up, so on and so forth, because there's so much information available to the players. If they're not willing to do that, then they're not going to go anywhere. You know what I mean? Right. Because we talk about it all the time. We can only do so much. We can drop the plays, we can drop the drills, we can tell you to study, but the kid's got to want it. He's going to want to go after it and get recruited. And it's not like the old days where, these coaches are coming, one after another looking for you. There's so many players that you've got to put in the effort, and you got to let the coaches know that, yeah, I'm very interested in Bentley, or I'm very interested in Hood, or yeah, I want to go to the school. I want to take a look at it. That's what you have to do.
Yeah. So you put the onus on the player a little bit.
Absolutely.
All right, class, it's the NCAA Division I Women's Lacrosse Championship. Welcome to Fandom 101. Want to give your team the ultimate assist on the lax field? Here's your assignment. Lesson 1, get loud for every goal. 2, work in groups. And 3, attendance is encouraged, but passion is mandatory. The Division I Women's Lacrosse Championship, May 26th and 28th at Wake Med Soccer Park in Cary, North Carolina. Buy your tickets today at ncaa.com/WLacrosse. Class dismissed.
Dedication, skills, focus, and the drive to play at the highest level. Laxachusetts is committed to providing the coaching and curriculum that will allow boys and girls to learn and grow as individuals and as teammates. With an emphasis on skill development and academic excellence, their players have led the country in college recruiting for the past 10 years. With over 800 plus players moving on to play in college and over 130 plus high school All-Americans, Laxachusetts has been able to set the nationwide standard unmatched in the sport of lacrosse. To learn more, log on to laxachusetts.com. That's laxachusetts.com.
All right, class, it's the NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. Welcome to Fandom 101. Want to hype up your squad from face-off to the final whistle? Here's your assignment. Lesson 1, get loud for every goal. 2, work together. And 3, attendance is encouraged, but passion is mandatory. The Men's Lacrosse Championships, May 27th and 29th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. Buy your tickets today at ncaa.com/mlacrosse. Class dismissed.
It's not a new concept, but kids have been told, pick a school that if you don't play, that you'll be proud to be at that school and still engaged. And to start off, that's what a kid's got to think about. Where do I want to go to school? What do I want to study? What does that school mean to me geographically? The academics, and if I'm not playing, will I still be proud to be a graduate of that school? And then meet a coach, get an opportunity. And one of the things that I try to stress with our kids, and we've touched on it, any kid that's going to go to a school and walk on as a freshman or even as a recruit has got an uphill climb today. And these kids, and I know Jack said this 1,000 times, they've got to love the game. They've got to love to be part of it. They've got to love to wear a uniform. They've got to love their teammates. And they need to find a place where, regardless of playing time, all of that's part of it. Mm-hmm. And they're willing to apply themselves and make the most of it.
I guess kind of how relating to that and pushing through that, how do you have the conversation with a kid that's not willing to do things like that? Is that just someone that's just not in your program? Because I know you guys have youth.
Well, if he's not willing to do it, you don't have a conversation with him. Really, you have a conversation maybe once. And again, I'll reach out to some college coaches for you, but I want your top 5. I don't want 20. I don't want 25. I want you to get it down to 5, and then I'll make contact with the coaches, because you only get so many favors from coaches, and I want to call them favors. But if I keep calling the St. A's coach saying, "Oh, I got 10 guys, I got I got 1 or 2 guys that are interested in your school," it's one of their top 5 choices, not one of their top 20.
Right.
If I tell them it's one of their top 20, they're going to not waste their time with me, right? So because I've been around a long time, I've got to know these coaches, and they know, like Keith said, is I'm not going to call a guy and say, "You got to take this kid." And I always tell the players, listen, I'm not going to tell you can play at Merrimack. I'm not going to tell you can play at St. Lawrence or Union or Hartwick, wherever we send you. The coach is going to give you an opportunity if you get recruited, but that's as far as it goes.
Right. And, I think I kind of want to direct this at Keith. When you're trying to match players with schools and pick players, that fit into schools, how much of the team's culture do you take into that? Because I feel like if you have relationships with these coaches, you kind of know what kind of kid is going on that team, and also what kind of kid is going to have success at that school and in that program, right?
Absolutely, Kyle. Every coach has a different style. The 3 of us coach very differently. And I spend a lot of time getting to know and have, the advantage of being involved in the sport for over 38 years. And, I try to get to know the kids and know what style they'll fit well in. Obviously, as Kevin said, first and foremost, they have to want to be there at the school, whether they're competing athletically or not. But I absolutely take into consideration, the dynamics of the team, the intensity of the coach, the coaching style, and how and why I think that individual will fit into that culture. The other thing, to back up about what you guys were just discussing, 2 things is what you were discussing about the adversity and having to love the game. What I do with the kids that aren't going to push it to the next level, I talk about enjoying today. Enjoy your high school experience. If you don't want to do that, a lot of kids are, looking to the future, and they miss the opportunity to enjoy the today. And what they don't know is when they're 40, 50, 60, or 70, that experience that they had in high school actually might be better than the experience they longed for to have in college. And I try to talk to them about, hey, if you love the sport at the level you're playing at it now, and it may be a little self-serving because I need them to do that for my high school team, but I know it to be true, is that enjoy today, right? And if you're sweating going through the process of reaching out to somebody and you're not sure you love the game, to get up 3 mornings a week at 6 a.m. in the fall and go down in the snow and practice and probably not have an opportunity at your freshman year, maybe even your sophomore year, and have to do the work. The other thing I share with them, Kyle, is which is one of the best pieces I've seen, is your open letter to college freshmen. That piece you wrote, I can't tell you how many times I've used it once they're there, right? Because we're talking about how we go through the recruiting process, but I believe part of my job in Piatelli Lacrosse isn't over when they get there. It's mentoring them through that adversity that they have once they're there. And I will tell you, if coaches don't have that letter that you wrote to share with their players, I'm sharing it with my juniors and seniors now, to have them get prepared for what is going to be in front of them. So those are a few of the things that I do, but I will give you kudos. That was one of the best written articles or little pieces of writing that I think sends the message very strongly, Kyle.
Well, thank you. It's on my newsletter, and it's one of the things. I wrote it when I was talking to one of my players who I knew, probably wasn't going to play that much in college, and he worked really hard to get to the level where he could do that. And I knew that he needed to hear something like that so that they understood, he understood what he has to do, right? And that just because you're all state, you're in the championship games, you have high school championships, you don't get to just play at the next level. And I think a lot of what you guys do is a part of that as well. Like you prepare guys. I think what people have that don't have kids in the club system at all, I think they see it as, oh, that's just extra money, I'm going to throw it away. And I was probably one of those people up until about 5 years ago. And now I see all the other stuff that you guys do. And I do think it's very important, especially, and this is my other thing that I really love is club youth stuff is integral to the growth of the game. And people can kind of look at club lacrosse in a, like I said, in not a happy way, right? Like they just look at it as, oh, this is an extra expense. But really what good club programs do is they develop more than just the skill on the field. They develop confidence. They develop desire. They develop kids that might be low academic into becoming kids that want to succeed in school. That's something that I think if you're not looking at younger kids or around younger kids, you don't see that. Like everyone hates school. I think we forget when we grow up. We're like, yeah, school was great. We had no cares. We could get snacks. We napped, but when you're in it, you just see like, oh man, I got to go like learn this thing that I don't understand. And that's every day. You know what I mean? Like all the way up through high school for a lot of people, not everyone. Sometimes school's really easy, but for a vast majority of kids, it is, I got to learn this. I don't know. And the thing that sports do is they build your confidence to do anything else. Right.
Absolutely.
It's about life skills.
Right.
What you're talking about is life skills, right? And whether they play college lacrosse or not, if we mentor them and help them in their life skills, that's how we're giving back, using the sport of lacrosse to give back, to develop their life skills and have those relationships. And I know Jack and my brother and myself have those relationships long after they've graduated from college. And that's one of the most rewarding things you can do. Obviously, you do it with your own children, but having the opportunity to do it with hundreds of others, if you want to give back, is, you hope you're making a difference.
I think one of the great things about Piatelli, and probably been involved now for 8 years, and had a very, very special group of 2020 high school grads. I've heard recently at some public high schools, they've eliminated the captaincy position. Some opposition to kids getting recognized as captains and other kids not. One of the great things I've observed now, and as I've watched the boys turn to young men that I coached, is the influence of peer leadership.
Yeah.
We've had exceptional young men in our program from exceptional families, but everybody gets on for the ride. So the most elite kid out of the 22 on the team is bringing the 22nd kid up at every practice, on every weekend, the association. It's been fantastic to see. And I'm a huge proponent of the influence of peer leadership. And I think we've had a great demonstration of that in the Piatelli program.
That is upsetting to me that people would cut out captains, because, and I say this as a coach and my own personal experience, being named a captain of my high school team, my college team were two of the greatest honors of my life. I'm not joking. I like just straight face into the cameras, the greatest honors of my life. Okay. And it's because my
You weren't
peers,
the only player on that team, were you? That year?
No.
Okay.
no, many players. And if you're asking, I was voted both times. So I think the ability to, if you take that seriously, because your peers expect that of you, your peers hold you in this esteem. Like that is one of the things that builds your confidence. It builds your life. It builds all the, it's a huge tool, right? You know, one of the things I say, and Jack and I talk about this all the time, was like, I have so much to do. I write all the time. I watch so many games. I'm in here recording. I'm coaching too. It's crazy. And people ask me like, well, how do you do that? I'm just like, well, I've gotten out of worse. Every single time. That's the thing I tell myself. I'm like, I've had a worse time. You know, this is like the ability to do this with lacrosse is the greatest gift, right? And I see you guys get to coach and it's, you know, you had your backgrounds in sales, but I bet when you get in the car to go to a game or go to a practice, you're happier to do that, right?
Yeah, no question. I think,
Amen.
like Kevin and Keith said, is we truly believe in relationships with the players and even the parents, building those relationships over time, you know, having players play on one particular team and they move up every year, and our teams do get better and they become very competitive at the high school level. We have a single A and double A, and a number of our deep double A players go on and play at good schools like the Bentleys and, you know, the Skidmores and the Unions. And because you're a single A, you know, what is a single A player? What is a double A player? What is a triple A player? There really isn't a single A, double A, triple A. It depends on who you talk to, right? So as long as they're playing, and I truly believe that in the right environment for a player where he gets a lot of good coaching in terms of skill development, understanding the game, you know, being willing to make sacrifices to make yourself better over time, and understand the parents have to understand the players. It's not a sprint. You know, it's not instant gratification. You have to continue to work like we do. We're still working, right? You got to keep working every single day to become a better person, become a better player, and to becoming a better teammate. And what we do is we develop players. We're not a recruiting service.
Right.
All right. We're not, but we do a great job assisting parents and players to find the right school for them. And the other thing that we do is we do our best to really give them a good understanding of what it's going to be like when you step on the campus as a freshman. For a lot of these kids, it's the first time away from home, right? Mm-hmm. That's a challenge in itself. And now he's going to meet 51 new guys he's never met before and play for a different coach. And then he's got to take care of his studies, sign up for right classes, so on and so forth, make sure you're on the meal plan, blah, blah, but goes on and on and on, right? Because we've had children who have been through this, all three of us and a number of our coaches. We have a lot of experience to understand what the challenges have been for our own kids and our players. And we still keep in touch with our players. We follow our players. Mm-hmm. We go to games. That's what we do. We watch our players play all the time because we're big fans.
Yeah. Can you, each one of you guys, tell a story about, maybe you don't have to single out the player, but just a type of player and how they affected, I'll just try that again.
Yeah, shut that off.
All right. Yes, here's the edit. Could each one of you tell me a story about a specific player that you have had for a long time in your program that went on to be a really good fit at a school that isn't maybe a school that people have heard of? Because I think that's important. Like the diaspora of Division III in particular, as well as Division II, is huge and almost endless. Each one of you guys.
Well, I'll give you a story.
Okay. I know you always have stories, so
give you a story. Perfect. And Kevin could, I'm going to give you a great story about these two boys, right? They're twins. I'm not going to mention their last names right now, but they've been in our program from the get-go. All right. Now, what was great about these two boys, one was a goalie, one's a midfielder. And when they were younger, they were good players, but they weren't, they were good athletes, and they continued to come and train and work and everything like that. And they both had ambitions to play Division I lacrosse. One of them, Andrew Perry, greatest kid in the world, is at Harvard, having a lot of success. Now, his twin brother wanted to play Division I, and he struggled, that there wasn't a lot of interest and so on and so forth. But he made a decision that the academic piece was more important than the lacrosse piece. He ends up at RPI. Started as a freshman and was an All-American and an academic All-American. So he accepted the fact that maybe Division I lacrosse wasn't right for him, and he found a great place. He's having great success on the field and off the field in the classroom. RPI education, Harvard education, these two boys are going to do just fine. Took two different paths. But, sometimes you got to bite the bullet and realize maybe Division I isn't what it's cracked up to be.
I mean, it's not what it's cracked up to be for most kids, right? Regardless of your program, regardless of where you are.
Right.
There's no one program that just cranks D1 starters out.
No.
If there was, everyone would move there and everyone would play for that team.
Exactly.
And guess what? Not everyone can play for every team. That's not how it works.
Yeah, and if you love the game, you want to play.
Right.
Looking to keep up with all the latest news and information on New England lacrosse? New England Lacrosse Journal and laxjournal.com are the premier resources for information and inspiration on the New England lacrosse scene. Have every issue of New England Lacrosse Journal, the magazine, delivered to your home or office. And don't forget to stay in the game every day with a digital subscription to laxjournal.com to receive daily digital lacrosse coverage on club lacrosse, college commits, prep and high school, Division I, II, and III colleges, showcases, rankings, and much more. Get in the game and behind the scenes now by logging on to laxjournal.com. Just click on the subscribe button and start the subscription that is right for you today. New England Lacrosse Journal is a Seamans Media publication. Seamans Media. Inspiring, informative, insightful.
Keith, do you have one?
I got I'll give you an overview that is back to the comment that you brought up that was, if getting rid of captains, it doesn't jive with me. But two things I'll tell you. Jack will remember the second clearly. And they're the proudest moments of my Piatelli coaching career. I coached a wonderful group of young men. Jack's son was on the team. My son was on the team. Bussy Adams' son was on the team. We had, I think, around 21 or 22 players on that team. Fast forward to their college careers. We did promote this because it's a very proud moment. Is 14 of those 20 players were captains 2 years ago, either 1 year or 2 year captains at Cornell, Sacred Heart, Tufts, Bentley, Western New England, and the love that they have for each other and the love that we and they share with each other is unbelievable. And you talk about developing young men to be leaders. There's no better example of that than that group of individuals. I won't point any one of them out because I love them all like they were my own. And I am so proud of all of them. And now they've all gone on to have all of them have taken that leadership role that they had as athletes and gotten great jobs. And they're all on their way to great success. An individual though, and this happened last year, we had a young man who thought he was going to get into the trades, and he was a goalie. And he had a lot of options. He was a very good goalie, but he chose a school called Hassan. And we received a letter from his parents because up until being involved in Piatelli Lacrosse and seeing his peers getting recruited, and he did get recruited to go play there, but he had told his mom and dad he wasn't going to go to college. and his experience being around other leaders who are going through the process piqued a little interest of his. And I can't think of a better email to get from a parent thanking Jack and I for how we use the sport of lacrosse to compete a competitive edge in this young man and allow him to go on and want to go to college. And college isn't for everybody, but it was just, I remember Jack and I reading that letter together, not a program that I knew much about. He visited a number of schools. He's already, gotten some playing time as a freshman, but the fact that he's going to college and going to get a degree because he was in our program, I can't think of anything better. What more would a parent want than an individual that wasn't sure if they were going to go to the next level and get the things that they need to get out of college, the personal interactions and the academic development. And that probably in my decade of being associated with Piatelli Lacrosse was a highlight behind closed doors for Jack and I.
Kevin, do you have one?
I really I can't think of. I follow our kids, like Jack says. My weekends are so busy now between texting the boys and watching the games. I can't think of any school that maybe is a school that you haven't heard of. But I did have a great experience last year with one of our 2020 boys who went to a NESCAC school, and Keith and I played men's lacrosse with a very close friend who passed away years ago, and he has an award in his memory at this NESCAC school, and one of our Piatelli boys was given the award last year. It's about heart, it's about sportsmanship, it's about being a great teammate, about being a humble, competitive man. And for me, that was a special story. And I was able to find a picture of our buddy Bestie in his college uniform and forward it to Jack Doust, our Piatelli boy that was given that award last year. And to me, that's a special story.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just kind of touch on how many teams there are and how you do the tiering of and splitting them, right? Because there's high school age groups. How low do you guys go for middle school? Keith.
I think Jack's more applicable to answer that question.
Okay, we'll wait for Jack.
Repeat the question again.
Sorry. How many teams are there in Piatelli Lacrosse right now, and how do you delineate between single A and double A players?
Last summer, we had 24 teams participating in a number of different tournaments. We're very involved in evaluating the players throughout the year. We make selections in the fall. We had well over close to 600 players try out last year. We're not looking to get any bigger. We're just looking to continually get better coaches, better training. So to answer your questions, 24 teams, and it's just based on skill level, athleticism, IQ. IQ is very, very important. And when we start the players at a younger age, we focus on just skills and drills and mastering the basic fundamentals. We had a player who actually is my cousin. When he first started with us in the 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, he couldn't even run and chew gum at the same time. I said, this kid is never going to play lacrosse, but he loves the game, loves the game, and kept working and stuck with it, came to all of our training sessions. We have, a number of training sessions in the fall and the winter. Our youth teams play in the spring in a competitive league with all the other New England club programs who do a great job. And this kid now, his name is Anthony Michelli, and he just got recruited to go to Merrimack College and accepted the letter of intention to go there. So Division I program. And again, it just example of being in the right program, club program, where you want to develop as a player, have consistent coaching, get to know your teammates. And I truly believe you become a more competitive player playing for your teammates than playing for yourself.
Interesting follow-up to that, because I was thinking about this while you were talking. At what age do you typically see kids really buy into being a lacrosse player?
I would say between the 7th and 8th grade.
Why do you think that is?
Because a lot of the players at that age, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, I encourage them multi-sport athletes, and my 2 boys played baseball and lacrosse. And then when Little League is over in the 6th grade, you have to make a decision whether you want to play baseball or lacrosse. And I really believe, or whatever the spring sport, it might be soccer, but I really believe that some of the kids no longer want to play both. And that's really when they decide on, I can't do everything. I'm going to just focus on lacrosse, and they'll just start playing lacrosse in the 7th and 8th grade. And I probably say that about a number of sports that as long as they continue to play other sports, but in terms of the sports being played that year that lacrosse is being played, 7th and 8th grade is really, I think, the time that they make a decision that they really want to be a lacrosse player.
I just want to say one thing about your question about the teams and the kids, right? So again, historically, when I was coaching that top team on 2017, my brother actually coached the A team. And the one thing I think that we do well in Piatelli Lacrosse is being on the top team, whatever you want to call it, A, AA, AAA, is not a rite of passage. If you get outworked, Kevin developed a couple of individuals when he was coaching the A team. And, it wasn't even in the 7th and 8th grade. It was at freshman and sophomore. Each year we took a couple kids that we developed fundamentally within the program that really loved the sport, that might not have had the same speed or the same coordination, but they loved the game. And we're not, we keep the coaches stay with the teams. But the one thing I think Jack does, a lot of the younger club teams I see are coached by, young kids. If you look at our coaching staff, it's mostly made up of, more experienced people at the younger ages. And I think that gives us the opportunity to develop our teams to be more competitive as time goes on. As Jack said, some of our younger teams may not have tremendous success. That 2017 team, the very first year we took them to a tournament, we lost 3 games by 20 goals. And then fast forward to their sophomore and junior year, they won 7 national tournaments, right? And it came out of developing the top team and developing the kids that might have been on the second team that really loved the sport and progressed. And I think having the experienced coaches, and one of the things we talk about all the time, Jack mentioned it earlier, I think there's an advantage when you coach, when you've been a parent, because there's a lot of life skills that you have to, use when you're developing your children in your home that transcend over to coaching any sport. And I think that's probably our greatest differentiator is our coaches might be showing up in wheelchairs and canes, and the other kids are coming in flip-flops and their hats backwards. And I don't think you can develop young players 3rd through 8th grade with very young men who haven't had that experience. I have nothing against them, but I think it's a major differentiator in our program.
Well, we take it very seriously. These players are paying for a service. They're paying for good coaches, and we tend to have our best coaches at the younger ages because they're the most influential and they can make a huge difference at the younger levels. Not that we don't have good coaches at the high school level. We have good coaches across the board. And we constantly develop our coaches. And if the coaches aren't doing what we expect of them, we ask them to move on. We do. And we have high expectations for our coaches. We treat our coaches very fairly, but there are high expectations for me, and I have high expectations for our coaches and everybody that's involved in the program.
What do you mean by developing coaches? Like, what's something that you would use as a developmental tool with a coach?
We watch film with our coaches and talk about, what kind of offenses we want to work. We want to have consistency from the third grade all the way up to the high school. So when they move up a grade or when they get to high school, they all have the same concepts. But we have meetings with the coaches and talk to them about what kind of drills we want to run, why we're running the drills, what kind of attitude to have. You want to be positive with these players before you maybe bring them down a little bit, build them up and then, bring them down. Talk to the players like it's your own son too.
Right.
Talk to them like your own son. Don't talk to them like, you don't know who the kid is or ask them who, that's a great thing about our program too. Every coach gets to know his team, every player and even the parents. So we consider it family.
I think one of the things I want to drill down in part 2 is the curriculum itself and how you do that. But I think this is a great intro to Piatelli Lacrosse. It's great to have you guys in studio. I can't tell you guys how excited Jack was off camera. As soon as he was on, it carried over. But I mean, I thought he was going to flip the table over at some points. But it's great having you guys in here. And appreciate you coming on. Thanks for zooming in, Keith. I know you're a very busy man, getting your team ready to compete for another championship.
Yeah, and I think I'll just say one last thing. Loving the game and loving each other. I think the one thing that Jack has done is he's surrounded himself with people that are shoulder to shoulder with him. And I think the way that the kids see us interact is really a model for how they act. They can see how much we love the game and how much we love each other. And that goes through to all of us that are part of the program. But some of my greatest personal relationships came out of the time that I spent with Jack. Obviously, getting my brother involved in the program, the Bussy Adams of the world, and the rest of the guys that we coach with. And I think the players see it, and it's easier to do something. It's easy to love each other if the leaders of the program are doing that. And if people can't get a sense of the type of relationship that the three of us have, I consider Jack and Bussy as much my brother as my own.
Any last thoughts, Kevin?
Just I say it all the time. The game is great, but the blessings are the association that I have as a result of the game. High school teammates, college teammates, coaches, and you asked the question about how to coaches cross train or whatever. We go and watch other teams play at tournaments when we're not scheduled. I stand on the sideline observing other coaches. We can all pick up so much from each other. And, that's something that I see amongst all the coaches. If it's our game, I'll turn around, 2 or 3 other guys from other grades are standing watching our game, and there's input. And we're constantly learning. It's a great camaraderie situation.
All right, that's gonna do it for part 1 of the Piatelli Lacrosse. What do you want to call this? Little showcase, little program overview. Is that better?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it sounds great, and it's great to talk to you guys and actually drill down on some of the things that make a good club team. And I think it's surprising. It's going to surprise people what it is.
Good club program. We have good club teams.
Yes.
Get that straight. Thanks.
Cranky to the end.
All right. Part 2 coming up.
Part 2 coming up. Thanks again for listening to New England Lacrosse Journal's Chasing the Goal podcast. For Jack Piatelli, I'm Kyle Devitt. We'll see you next time.
How do you think that went?
You always forget we're on camera. Stop doing
sorry.
stuff when we're finishing the show.